I'm so excited to welcome you to Setare today to the Core Connections podcast. I know we're going to dive in and talk about the importance of the lymphatic system and how powerful rebounding can be. And I'm sure we'll chat about many other great things as well. So, to start with, I would love for you to share a little bit about your background and what led you to wanting to help others, heal their bodies and feel their best.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Erica. My name is Dr. Setare Taabodi. I am a board certified family nurse practitioner, and I am a natural medicine health consultant. And I help people with chronic illness reverse their symptoms. And the reason I got into this field was I was originally an intensive care unit nurse. I always knew that I wanted to help, but about 6 months into my nursing career, I ended up getting food poisoning from the hospital cafeteria, and it triggered a host of autoimmune conditions. And I was previously healthy my entire life. And I just got really, really sick. I developed things like Hashimoto's and POTS and chronic fatigue syndrome and eczema and neurological symptoms and a list of chronic health conditions and digestive symptoms and things like that. And when I wasn't getting answers with conventional medicine, I immersed myself in natural and alternative medicine. And I went through this several years long journey of trying to heal my body because I just knew that my body could heal and I just didn't want to accept that as my fate. And in 2018, I came across the Medical Medium books by Anthony William. And in those books, I learned about the root cause of chronic illness and how to reverse my symptoms using nutrition and herbal medicine. And once I started implementing some of those things, I reversed my symptoms and I completely got off medications within 6 months. And these are medications that I'd been on for several years, and I just never thought I'd be able to get off of them, but I did. And and then I went back to school. I went and got my doctorate in nursing. And then when I graduated in 2021, I realized I no longer wanted to work in the conventional medicine model. And so I launched my natural medicine practice at the end of 2021. And that's what I have been doing ever since. And yeah, that's kind of how I got here. It was a very long and painful journey, but I'm really grateful to be on the other side.
Well, it's awesome that you have your own practice. I feel like I'm hearing more and more of that from those that were kind of in the conventional medicine to being like, I'm bound by insurance and time and all this, and I want to really be able to help others. And we have to get outside of that insurance model. And it definitely costs
Exactly.
people more, but it's what really we end up really needing, many people end up needing to heal. Okay, I have a question. You mentioned that all of those health stuff seem to start from that one episode of food poisoning.
Um,
Can we talk about that a little bit more? Because I think so many times food poisoning, like we just kind of like slip it off. Oh, you got food poisoning, heal from it, take some probiotics, you'll be better. But not always the case. So that's
yeah.
interesting to me that you said like it had that big of a cascade.
Yes, exactly. And, I think a lot of people, I worked with so many clients that would tell me, yeah, after I got the flu, after I got COVID, after I got food poisoning, I have never been the same. And what I've learned is the root cause of a lot of chronic health conditions is pathogens in the body. And when we're healthy, and, we all have pathogens in our body. And when our immune system is intact, we don't have symptoms. But oftentimes, when something dramatically weakens the immune system, it can allow those pathogens to reactivate, and those can cause illness. And it's really common for people to develop chronic health symptoms after food poisoning, like I said, COVID, the flu, stressful events like trauma, divorce, pregnancy, childbirth. All those things really do weaken the immune system and allow these pathogens to reactivate, and they can wreak havoc on our bodies and cause a host of chronic illness symptoms.
Yeah, it's going back to like root cause. And so many times, and just reminding everybody listening that, and this is what happens, and I know you do the same when you work with clients, it's going, that health history is so important. And so
So
many times
important.
because we are living our life, we don't necessarily trace something back. Oh gosh, we've been feeling this way for 10 years. And sometimes it can seem like a gradual change, and maybe it was, but also almost everyone I've ever worked with, and I'm sure it's the same for you, if you go back, we go way back in the health history, you
Mhm.
start to put the dots together and it like things start to make sense. And I don't know, I
Exactly.
just find that always so fascinating that, there's always outliers of like, it really kind of is a mystery because, well, sometimes people get a tick bite and they don't know that they ever had a tick bite, right? There are things
Hmm.
that happen that you don't know happen, but I do find so often it is like we can trace it back to a specific thing that at the time we didn't think anything of because, again, society like normalizes it in a sense like, oh, you got some food poisoning, not a big deal. Just got to let your body heal from it, whatever it is, kind of thing. So
Yes.
I don't know. I find that always so interesting that there are root
Yeah.
causes. We just have to really dig and look for them.
Yes, exactly. And I'm so happy you brought that up. But yeah, I can always like usually trace something back when I'm working with a client. And we do a very comprehensive health history, and I always ask them, what infections they've had and whether they've had strep throat or mono or shingles. And those things really do paint a picture because it tells me what pathogens you have in your body. And oftentimes when we develop worsening symptoms or new symptoms, it's usually you can really trace it back to those things.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. Okay, so Sitar, let's talk about the lymphatic system, right? It comes up periodically. I'll bring it up because I do a lot with fascia. I talk about fascia a lot. I teach ball rolling, things like that. That's really gentle for our fascial system, which helps to improve our lymphatic system as well. But I'd love for you to share with everybody the importance of our lymphatic system, why we need to be doing the different things to improve our lymph flow in our body. It is so, so stinking important.
It really is. And the lymphatic system, for those of you who don't know, there's about 600 lymph nodes all throughout our body, and it's responsible for protecting us from pathogens and toxins and things like that. And the lymph nodes are full of white blood cells and lymphocytes that help protect us from, bacteria and viruses and things like that. And that's why oftentimes when people get sick, they get enlarged lymph nodes because our body's trying to trap things and protect us and prevent them from traveling to other places in the body and potentially cause worsening symptoms. So the lymphatic system is really, really important for our immune system. And unfortunately, the only way that we can really support our lymphatic system in a general sense is with movement. Our cardiovascular system, our arteries, our veins, like that is pumped by the heart, right? So we have that moving things and circulating that throughout our body. Our lymphatic system does not have that. The pump of the lymphatic system is movement, muscle contraction. So the best way to do that is with movement. And unfortunately, our lymphatic systems are really overburdened. We have a lot of toxins in our environment and personal care items. So our lymphatic system is dealing with that. And also, we just don't move as much as we used to, right? People don't have time. They don't feel good. They have chronic health symptoms. They don't have the energy to do a lot of movement. But the good news is that there's a lot of ways that we can incorporate easy movement to help pump the lymphatic system. And one of those is actually rebounding, which is something I'm really passionate about. It was really central to my recovery and my healing. And rebound is not just good for the lymphatic system; it's good for so many other parts of our bodies as well.
So when you talk about rebounding from obviously lymphatic system, can you talk about what it like, why rebounding over some other things?
Yeah, so rebounding is really, really effective. And it's that bouncing motion. And basically, that bouncing motion is essentially a pump for the lymphatic system. And I like to think of rebounding as like you're jiggling toxins out of the lymph nodes. You're pumping like that pumping, jumping motion really helps to move things along and improve circulation of the lymphatic system. And the great thing about rebounding is that it's low impact. Yeah, you can go do jump rope or you can go on a run and things like that. But that's really hard on our knees and our ankles. And not everyone can run, right? Or wants to run or enjoys running. So the nice thing about rebounding is that it's a highly aerobic exercise. It's high intensity, but it's very low impact. And it's actually really fun and really enjoyable.
Yeah, I enjoy rebounding. So I want to just add to this because I know I've got women listening that are like, wait, rebounding sounds great, but I pee my pants or I'm afraid, maybe dealing with some pelvic organ prolapse, things like that. So do you have anything to say on that? Or
I would
I
love to.
could,
Yeah, I get so many
okay.
messages from people like, "Oh my God, my bladder could never." But
Yeah.
I do, and I know you're really passionate about pelvic floor strength as well. But I found that you can actually, because if you had a weak pelvic floor and I asked you to do 10 jumping jacks, as you can imagine, I'm sure you're going to dribble a little bit. But the nice thing is about, I think I've read a statistic where rebounding reduces like 85% of the impact when you're landing on the trampoline. So you're not going to get this severe, like just impact surge on your pelvic floor when you land on the rebounder. And some people do, and some people just need to, that will get better with time, hopefully, once you're incorporating some pelvic floor exercises. But even standing on a rebounder is beneficial because just standing on it activates so many muscles. It activates your legs, the deep core muscles, and the pelvic floor. So if you are someone who's afraid of like just that bouncing motion, you can stand on the trampoline without the feet leaving the trampoline and just sit there and bounce gently. If that scares you, you can sit on one of those beautiful exercise balls and sit there and bounce and see how that feels. And there's other ways that we can, improve the lymphatic system and things like that. And there's, you could do things like dry brushing or gua sha. You can do infrared sauna. So there's lots of ways around it. But I really do find that people can tolerate the rebounder more than they think they can.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I actually well, there are women that I wouldn't put on a rebounder necessarily
Mm-hmm.
yet, but that's where, again, learning about your body, learning how to effectively strengthen your pelvic floor. Because again, and I've talked a lot about this, so anyone listening that wants to learn more about pelvic floor, we've got lots of episodes about that. But to your point about just being on it and not even lifting your feet, and if you can bring that awareness into, okay, let me practice my gentle pelvic floor lift and that zipping up while you're doing that, it actually could be a really, really good awareness exercise for you to do to start to tune in even more to your pelvic floor. And then you see it slowly progress. And I think sometimes women get really scared of like, oh, it's a trampoline, I'm going to pee my pants. And so also the mindset, we got to shift our mindset and say, but maybe a rebounder, because we're not going out to just jump like crazy like the kids are doing. It's not about like that, all that. It's
Mm-hmm.
really about being, it's just gentle, but it could be a really good addition for pelvic floor core strength if you have the right awareness to it. So I just to help women not be scared of the rebounder, it is something that I think women should strive to be able to do. So even if like today you're like, I can't do it, put that in your visions of like, okay, I want to get there. And we can get there. You just have to, sometimes we got to break it down from our exercise perspective. And to your point, there are other things we can do, but the rebounder is really good. I've heard different things about like 10 minutes a day can be as good. I don't even know what the like in comparison to, but the
Yeah.
massive effects of like 5 minutes or 10 minutes sounds like a long time to me, just like bouncing on a rebounder. But I've done several minutes of it many times.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that so the interesting thing about rebounding is it's been pretty extensively studied by NASA. So there's really good evidence surrounding rebounding. And I think the statistic you're thinking of, it says 10 minutes of rebounding is equivalent to 33 minutes of jogging.
Yes,
Um,
that sounds right.
so,
Yeah.
but it's low impact, which is amazing. So if we're not, and obviously if you love running, I want you to keep running. But if you don't like running and you have bad knees or bad ankles, bring in rebounding. It's a really, really great way, and it's really, really fun. And the other incredible things about rebounding is it oxygenates the entire body. And that in turn supports the immune system because pathogens cannot thrive in a high oxygen environment. So that it's really great for the immune system. It helps with bone density. It helps with muscle strength. It helps with balance and coordination. It helps with digestion. If you are someone who's constipated and you bring in rebounding, I guarantee you're going to have a bowel movement because it really moves things along. And I mean, it's great for so many things. Cellulite. There've been studies on it and how it can benefit children with cystic fibrosis and things with even people with osteoporosis. Because what happens when astronauts go to space is there's no gravity, right? So they lose a lot of muscle mass and bone density. And they have studied rebounding, other forms of exercise, but rebounding was the most effective. So if you are someone who has weak bones or weak muscles and you're really deconditioned, rebounding is a really fun and effective way and safe way. I mean, there's ways to make it safer, but it's a really great way to incorporate movement into your life. And there's so many different rebounders out on the market, and the most in the most simplistic ways of describing them, there's ones that have the bungee cables as springs, and they have the ones that have like the metal springs as like the coils. And the ones with bungee cords tend to be a lot more tolerated. They tend to have lower impact. And they also have rebounders with handlebars. So if you were someone who's just like a little off balance and you're like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to jump, into the ceiling, hold on to a handlebar. They're really nice. I actually got that one for my mom because she has a history of osteoporosis. And I was like, okay, I really want you to rebound, but I don't want you to break your hip. So
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
gonna buy you one with a bar. And she loves it.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. Okay, so Dr. Setare, I know you talked about and you mentioned rebounding can help with constipation. And I know constipation is an issue that so many women struggle with. And I also know it's very important that, okay, if we're opening our lymphatic system, we want our bowels moving. Like we want to have at least one really good solid bowel movement a day, more if they're not really good ones. So if you talk to the importance of that and maybe some other things women can do, maybe they don't have access to a rebounder right now, but we know opening this lymphatic system is important. But along with it, she needs to be having regular bowel movements to get the
Yeah,
junk out.
that's a really great point. And yeah, I think, if your elimination pathways aren't open, you're gonna have a really hard time detoxing. And sometimes when the lymphatic system gets very overwhelmed, things come out of our skin. So oftentimes we develop things like eczema, psoriasis, acne, and that's simply because there's poisons and bacteria in the lymphatic system, and there's no elimination, there's no point of elimination for that. So then it comes out of our skin. So optimizing digestion is really, really important just for our overall health and detoxification. So rebounding is really, really helpful because, as you can imagine, like movement helps with constipation. It
Yep.
promotes peristaltic action. So going on walks and things like that really, really help. But the motion of rebounding, it really does, push things down. So, and I will oftentimes find like after I'm done rebounding, I really have to go to the bathroom afterwards
Yeah.
because I'm just like, things are being stimulated and things want to come out, which I'm really happy about. And I always tell people, like, if you're not pooping, you're not detoxing. So, yeah, if you for some reason, movement is not available to you right now, or rebounding is not available to you, it has to start with food, right? So, bringing in more hydration, lemon water, ginger water. I really love celery juice. If you haven't tried celery juice, it's incredibly healing to the body. To be quite honest, any type of fresh juice that you make or have, reducing your fat intake, that can really help. Smoothies are amazing. There are certain herbs that you can try to help with constipation as well. I actually really love magnesium for constipation. It has so many health benefits, but magnesium glycinate is something I really recommend for all of my clients that suffer from constipation. There are so many other herbs that you can bring in. Licorice root is amazing for constipation. Saw palmetto, pau d'arco, slippery elm, marshmallow root. There's so many different things that you can bring in to help move things along, but it really does come. It should start with food.
So what, from a food perspective, are there certain foods that you see that you like always tell your like kind of across the board, your clients, like, okay, these are my top culprits that are causing, could be leading to constipation, sluggishness in the GI tract, things like that.
Yeah, so this is something that usually people don't want to hear, but like high fat foods. So like, like dairy, eggs, meat, deep fried food, like those things do not really work well for us. And usually people don't feel good when they're having fried food. So I think lowering your fat intake is really, really important. Um,
Real
and then
quick question on Sitar, on the fat though, but there's a difference, like fried food versus like avocados, and like you had mentioned
right.
eggs, but eggs are packed full of a lot of good nutrition. But do you find like really decreasing the fats across the board seem to help your
It
clients, no
does.
matter
Yeah,
what
because
kind of fat it is?
even healthy fats, which is really hard because I mean I love avocados and I eat them, I eat them every day. But if I was constipated, I'd try and remove, a lot of fats from my diet. Um, and what happens is we get a lot of rancid and putrefied fats that can cake into the intestinal linings, and fat's one of those that just likes to stick in there. So we want to bring in more fiber rich foods, and obviously I know a lot of people can't tolerate fiber or like things like raw vegetables and things like that, but cooked vegetables are great as well. I mean, fruit is usually really easy to digest, so bringing those in. I love raw leafy greens. They're essentially like brooms for the digestive tract. So if you can't tolerate leafy greens, maybe sprinkle a few leaves of spinach into your smoothies and see how you do there, or cook them. Raw is obviously ideal because it has the most nutrients. When we cook our foods, we lose a lot of nutrients. So, but again, just listen to your body and do your best. Some foods that I really love for constipation are things like papayas. I don't know if you've eaten papayas, but they usually come
Yeah,
back
love
out the way they
papaya.
came in. They usually like smell like, I mean, you smell like papaya when you have your bowel movement. But it's really like, it's almost like pre-digested. Same with melons. Melons are really easy to digest. So that will really help move things along. I also really love aloe. I'm not sure if you've seen like fresh aloe leaf in the grocery store, but the inner flesh, it's a little bit bitter. It's not the best tasting, but it's very slippery and gelatinous, and it stays that way in the intestinal tract. So it has this like coating like effect on the intestinal tract. So it will kind of help slip things along the digestive tract and help you have a bowel movement.
Yeah, aloe can be really good. And also if someone has kind of their stomach gets upset easily, like do you like aloe?
Oh,
Taking
it's
a little aloe for
amazing.
that, it seems really well for calming the
Yeah,
stomach.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's a really potent anti-inflammatory, and it's also really anti-pathogenic. It's antibacterial, antiviral. It's really amazing for any digestive tract condition.
So with aloe, is that something you would recommend clients? Can they take it like daily? Or is
Yes,
it something
yeah,
more you would take on an as needed basis?
I think taking it daily because it's great for the immune system. It's also really great for skin and like anti-aging benefits. It has so it's great for the immune system and it's safe. It's not recommended during pregnancy, but before and after is really great. But yeah, I really love it. You can also the fresh is best as always, but you can buy frozen aloe chunks from the frozen fruit section, and you can add that to your smoothies if you like that. And then you can also buy certain aloe juices through like health food stores and online. Organics is a brand that I really like, and they don't have a lot of like the natural flavors and all the citric acids and things like that. So that's a really clean brand if you want to bring that in.
Yeah, that's the good one. That's the one I would recommend a drink too. But I will tell everybody listening, like be careful in the shelves, even in the health food kind of markets, yeah, where they have like the individual drinks. I've seen aloe juices and things, and they are loaded with sugar. So just try to avoid those because
Yes,
then you're
yeah,
just
definitely read the
getting a bunch
ingredients.
of sugar with that. So I love that.
Exactly.
Okay, so Satar, is there anything else you want to add talking about, again, improving digestion, helping women eliminate better so we can move on from constipation or around the lymphatic system?
And I think we nailed it all. I think, yeah, just, bring in movement if you can. Obviously, if you are chronically ill or have, symptoms that do not allow you to move your lymphatic system or move your bowels, just focus on gentle movement. And if you can't rebound, sit on an exercise ball and bounce. If you can't do that, walk. If you can't do that, dry brush, gua sha, infrared sauna. There's so many different things that you can bring into your life to optimize your lymphatic system and eventually improve your digestion.
I love it. So many great suggestions. So, ladies listening, pick that one thing. Always talking about like pick one thing from every conversation. What can you start to implement this week to help improve your lymphatic system, help improve your digestion, all of that. So, is there any last things that you want to add to share with everybody around, health? Doesn't have to be specific to our conversation today, but just from a general health perspective, maybe something that's helped you or you see has really helped your clients over the years.
Yeah, I think unfortunately we live in a world where it's really hard to be healthy. So one, like I think our society is not designed for us to be healthy, right? Like you go to a convenience store and they don't have healthy food; they have junk food, right? So it's really hard to be healthy in this world, and we're exposed to so many more things than we were 100 years ago, 200 years ago. So it's just really hard to be really healthy. So I think, and then there's so much information on the internet, so it can be really, there's a lot of
Yes.
noise out there, a lot of confusion, but I think really stick to basics and keep things as simple as possible. We're always telling our children, eat more fruits and vegetables to be healthy and strong. Eat more fruits and vegetables to be healthy and strong. So, just keep things really simple. Really stay hydrated, support your immune system, protect yourself, and just start with one thing. It's really, really overwhelming, but like you said, start with one thing and try to incorporate that into your daily routine once that becomes a habit, and then add something else. You don't have to do everything.
Yeah, such wise advice. I think we try to do too many things at once, then we're kind of setting ourselves up for failure. You're better off.
Yeah.
It's like, it's that one thing at a time. Really feel like you've implemented one new healthy lifestyle in your life, and then okay, now I can add another. And it's amazing in time where that can take you. But when we try to do all the things, then we're
Yes.
overwhelming our already overwhelmed lifestyle, right? For so many of us that we want to really set you all up for success. So it's picking that one thing. And again, I have this conversation all the time, especially with my core rehab members, because they're like, they want those results yesterday. I get it. We all want results yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just reality. But that's not how our body works. That's not how cellular function works. Like, and sometimes there's something else we're supposed to be learning along the way. And so when we really can kind of embrace the journey we're on, even when we're not where we want to be, but really see like, what am I learning about my body? What else can I, and really working on what you can do. Because again, it's like, I have women that are like, oh, well, I can't do the whole 30-minute workout, or I can't eat perfectly. So, well, I'm not going to do it at all. And it's like, no, we have to get rid of that all or none mentality. And I'm sure you see it
Exactly.
too. That is a
Mm-hmm.
societally driven thing. And it is actually what stands in people's way of getting results. So kick that whole thing out the door. Whatever you're able to do is amazing. It's like,
Exactly. I 100% agree. Yeah, realistic goals. And just be compassionate to yourself. And if you have a slip up, or you miss a day, or you miss a week, like it's okay. Just start over again. It's okay.
yeah, you just get back on and do it. Doesn't have to be a Monday. Stop waiting for Mondays, right? People are always like, oh, I'll do it on
I love
Monday.
that. That's really great advice. I do that too sometimes. Like, oh, okay, I'll do it on Monday.
Oh gosh, well, Satara, this has been so great. I love this conversation. So thank you so much. Will you just share with everybody listening where they can find out more about what you're doing and the information that you're sharing and all that?
Yeah. So my website is healwithsitar.com. You can find me on Instagram at Dr. Sitar NP. And yeah, that's where you can contact me, and then you can send me a message if you have any questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And I will, of course, always link up in the show notes so you all can find her information really easily. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.